Let's just start with maybe priority number one to get this economy back on track. We saw first quarter GDP, the economy contracted slightly. What does this new government need to prioritize?
Well, there are two major obstacles to the South African economy. One are the companies that are owned by the state, which are the logistics companies, which control the railways and control the ports and used to control the airlines. These companies have more or less collapsed in the hands of the ANC government. And this has created a major problem for the trade industry in South Africa. The collapse of the railway industry has meant that to transport minerals, we are a mineral exporter, such as coal, such as granite, to transport iron ore. Mining companies are having to use trucks. And this is very expensive and very inefficient. So that has to be priority number one. Priority number two is the supply of electricity. Supply of electricity in South Africa is controlled by a state-owned company. And this has completely failed to keep up with the demand. So we're having blackouts. We have been having blackouts for the last 17 years in our economy.
Right, but they've improved slightly over the past few months.
Yes, but for industry, 2 months or 3 months, you can't plan a new manufacturing industry on the basis of an improvement in 2 months. It has to be reliable over the long term. The third obstacle to investment is the policy of the ANC government called Black Economic Empowerment. That is one of the major obstacles.
So then, so Moeletsi, I was going to ask you, I mean, we heard last night the ANC has agreed on this government of national unity. How would you advise them now that they have made this agreement, and especially if we think about the opposition parties that are now potentially going to be a part of this coalition?
Well, at the end of the day, the opposition parties have to accept the ANC's solution to these problems.
But they've said they don't want to.
Well, that's why we don't really know which of the many political parties that are in parliament will actually join this government of national unity. Because the ANC and the ANC president, Mr. Ramaphosa, has made it very clear that, for example, the policy of Black economic empowerment is non-negotiable. It is a key pillar of ANC policy. Now, will the opposition parties accept the continuation of this policy? Some will say yes, others say no.
What's your expectation then? Do you believe that we'll see all of these parties come together?
I don't think so. I think there will be some. Already one of them has announced, Action South Africa, Action SA, has announced that it will not join a partnership with the ANC or a coalition with the ANC or a national unity government with the ANC. So it's clear we are now entering the final straight, and it's going to be very, very complex who joins. But the ANC only has 10 days to sort out this problem.
Yeah, and we were having Simbile talk about that earlier. I mean, we've also been seeing a lot of volatility when it comes to bonds, obviously the Rand and the benchmark stock index here. Does that volatility continue, or do you think that it might subside as we get closer and closer to that 2-week deadline?
Yeah, well, as you know, our currency is very volatile, and I expect this will continue until there is final agreement.
What do you think it will get to then?
The Rand sometimes goes down as far down as 19 and below to the US dollar. So I can expect any of those scenarios.
So then what changes that trajectory then? I mean, what gets the Rand strengthening again?
I think what will get the Rand to stabilize is the agreement, especially between, that includes the ANC and its two breakaway parties, which is the Economic Freedom Fighters and the Umkhonto we Sizwe MK party. Those are the two critical players to agree to be part of the, instead of staying in the opposition.
But that's what investors were concerned about, especially when we think about some of the policies of the EFF and the MK, like nationalizing the Reserve Bank and mines. It sounds like you're saying them being a part of the government of national unity will end up stabilizing the economy?
Oh, it will stabilize the economy. There's a lot of exaggerated fears in South Africa about the economic freedom fighters. They're not as radical as many people think they are. They believe, which is an old African nationalist belief, that the state must play a prominent role in the economy. But when it actually comes to practice, as I have pointed out, the state has been an obstacle. State-owned industries have been an obstacle to the performance of the South African economy. Economic freedom fighters know that as well as I do. So they understand that there has to be a private sector participation in the key logistics and power generation industries.